Hello, everyone. You're listening to Cinema 5000. My name is Mallory. This is my podcast. Happy 2026. How's it going? How's the new year been treating you? I know so far I'm doing pretty good. I've been watching a lot of movies. Starting my January off right, and we'll have another episode about what I've recently seen for the first time soon. But this episode, this is the Rewatch Recap episode for Q4, October, November, December of 2025. No 2026 watches on this episode. But I'll let you know what we're at. Anyway, we're 5,920 films, so only 80 films before I hit 6,000, and we slide into season number 3. But as I said, this is the Rewatch Recap episode. So I need to tell you what movies I watched. Let's go back to October. October 4th. I went somewhere special. I went to New York City. I had a friend that was having a birthday party. And as part of that birthday party, everyone was invited to go see Avatar, The Way of Water at a movie theater in 3D. Not just any movie theater, but the AMC Lincoln Square Theater. I had never been to this theater before. In fact, I think this was the first time. Yes, it was indeed the first time I had gone to a movie theater in New York City. New experience for me. Not that much different than any other movie theater, really, other than it is just, this theater. Specifically, the the movie Avatar, The Way of Water. I have, of course, seen that before. The tagline is Return to Pandora. The film is from 2022, directed by James Cameron, set more than a decade after the events of the first film. Learn the story of the Sully family, Jake and Neytiri and their kids, the trouble that follows them, the lengths they go through to keep each other safe, the battle they fight to stay alive, and the tragedies they endure. I like this movie. It's fun. I really like the whale. I love the whale. I love that whale. That's my review. I had a fun time seeing this again. I hadn't seen it since it first came out in 2022, so Christmas time. So just about 3 years, shy of just a couple months. Fun seeing it with a big crowd. People cheered, and they showed a preview for Fire and Ash, which I enjoy as well. Though I think I like Fire and Ash just a little more than this one, though this is definitely my second favorite Avatar film. It's visually just terrific, but aren't they all? Story-wise, it is what it is. But I think the action in this one is really great, and I think the action might actually be the deciding factor for me for why I like Fire and Ash a little more, too. Or maybe it's the more whales. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. I can't give this one quite 3.5, though I did give Fire and Ash 3.5. So that's really just about saying, hey, I rate this one a little higher. But it's directed by James Cameron. Avatar, The Way of Water. I think you've heard of it. I think you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Now, a week later, on October 12th, I was watching TV. I was watching HBO. What was on TV? Oh my gosh. Well, none other than Uncut Gems from 2019, directed by Benny Safdie and Josh Safdie. The tagline is, "This is how I win." A charismatic New York City jeweler, always on the lookout for the next big score, makes a series of high-stakes bets that could lead to the windfall of a lifetime. Howard must perform a precarious high-wire act, balancing business, family, and encroaching adversaries on all sides in his relentless pursuit of the ultimate win. Gee, doesn't that sound like another Safdie movie? Haha. One I might have talked about recently. I think this is the Safdie's best movie that I've seen. And I've seen most of them. I've seen Daddy Longlegs. I've seen Good Time. I've seen Heaven Knows What, which I would recommend if you have not seen. And yeah, I've seen Marty Supreme, but I think Uncut Gems is just the total package, the chaos, the great performances, the really incredible scoring, the editing. It's everything. And I really, really love this movie. It's funny, I've only logged it twice, but I think many, many times I have actually seen part of it on HBO, and I own it too, so it's I've watched it, turned it on, fell asleep, went back and watched it again, and finished what I was off at for, a time in the film and just didn't log it or whatever. But Uncut Gems, it's a fun film. give it 4 stars. From 2019, directed by Benny Safdie and Josh Safdie. And yeah, Adam Sandler, he's freaking great in this movie. I don't think there's an argument anymore of people being like, oh, Adam Sandler, is he really an actor, or is he just a guy who likes to make movies and go on vacation? Well, I think both can be true, actually. Now, we're going to fast forward up to the end of October 26th. I actually talked about the movies I watched here for rewatches on this specific day on a regular episode, because I went to the Coolidge Corner Theater for their annual Halloween marathon, and there were a number of movies I rewatched, the first being The Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954, directed by Jack Arnold. From the Amazon's forbidden depths came The Creature from the Black Lagoon. When scientists exploring the Amazon River stumble upon a, quote, missing link, unquote, connecting humans and fish, they plan to capture it later for study. But the creature has plans of his own, and has set his sights on the lead scientist's beautiful fiancée, Kay. I think this movie is delightful. I gave it 3.5 stars. Holds up really well. It's not too long. It's only 79 minutes. Though if it's longer, I think I would still enjoy it. And I think the creature effects are just terrific. So if you haven't seen Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954, I would definitely recommend you do. And then the next rewatch actually was the movie immediately after it, was An American Werewolf in London from 1981, directed by John Landis. Obviously, I've seen it before, from the director of Animal House, A Different Kind of Animal. American tourists David and Jack are savagely attacked by an unidentified animal while hiking on the Yorkshire moors. After retiring to the home of a beautiful nurse to recuperate, David soon begins experiencing disturbing changes to his body and mind. Give this one 3 stars. I think it feels a little too short for me. Like, I want more movie out of this movie, which is a compliment in some ways. The acting's good. David Naughton and Griffin Dunn, Jenny Agutter. It's a fun film. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking it out. It's not a lot to invest. And, of course, you get the absolutely terrific special effects that are done in this movie. The makeup by Rick Baker, Robin Grantham, and Beryl Lehrman. Really terrific stuff. Still holds up today. If you think it doesn't hold up today, I don't know what your problem is. All right. Fun fact about Griffin Dunn, he was my #1 actor watched in the year of 2025. And I figured out the way that will happen and how it might happen every single year. Now, technically tied with some cast members from a number of James Bond films, but my favorite Martin Scorsese movie is After Hours, and I watch that like every year. One of my favorite movies of all time that I rewatch quite often is the movie My Girl, and Griffin Dunn plays Mr. Bixler, the teacher in that movie. I actually rewatched Ocean's 8 earlier in the year, and he's not physically in the movie, but his voice is, so it counts. What else? There's another movie. There's just all these movies he's in, and so it's like it kind of lines up that, like, yeah, every single year Griffin Dunn will probably be my most watched actor. Anyway, enough about American Werewolf in London. Let's talk about Aliens, which was also played at the Horror Marathon from 1986, directed by James Cameron. The tagline is, "This time, it's war." Ripley, the sole survivor of the Nostromo's deadly encounter with the monstrous alien, returns to Earth after drifting through space in hypersleep for 57 years. Although her story is initially met with skepticism, she agrees to accompany the team of Colonial Marines back to LV-426. Aliens is terrific, as is Alien. Gave it 4 stars. I actually think I fell asleep during this movie for a little bit, but it's just a terrific movie to watch in the dark. Yeah, even the bad Alien movies are good to watch in the dark, though I haven't seen the ones like Alien vs. Predator. No, but even Alien Resurrection, which I wasn't a big fan of, not too bad to look at. Regardless, Aliens is just a really solid film. Like, there's no weak points in the picture. Looks great. Everyone's terrific. Sigourney Weaver, of course. And then people like Michael Biehn, Paul Reiser, Lance Henriksen, and Bill Paxton. Yeah, 4 stars for Aliens from 1986, directed by James Cameron. And the last rewatch I had from the Horror-thon, which thankfully showed some films I had not seen before, like Tremors, which I had actually seen parts of multiple times, and then they also showed Chud, which I had been wanting to see, and I was so psyched for it to be shown. And sadly, it didn't really work for me. But the last movie they showed for the horror marathon was Eight-Legged Freaks, oh boy, from 2022, directed by Elroy Ellikim. The tagline is, "Let the squashing begin. The residents of a rural mining town discover an unfortunate chemical spill has caused hundreds of little spiders to mutate overnight to the size of SUVs. It's then up to mining engineer Chris McCormick and Sheriff Sam Parker to mobilize an eclectic group of townspeople, including the sheriff's young son Mike, her daughter Ashley, and paranoid radio announcer Harlan, into battle against the bloodthirsty eight-legged beasts." I give this movie 1 star. I actually didn't stay for the whole thing because I watched like a lot of it, and then I was kind of like, maybe I should leave early and get lunch and try to take a bus home a little earlier. Fun fact, leaving earlier did not help me get home earlier. The bus was delayed, and I was like sitting waiting for my bus for quite a while. So I really only made like half an hour earlier time because I was taking a bus out of Logan Airport as opposed to South Station in Boston. So I was waiting for a 2:15 bus, and it didn't come till 2:45-ish, or maybe 2:30. But I was like standing on the curb with people waiting, and we were all like, "Where's the bus? Where's the bus?" I did have a coffee though, and I surprisingly like stayed awake the entire time on the bus. Not so fun though is that it was a packed bus because everybody had been waiting, and it seemed like there was another bus that just couldn't make it there. Anyway, my bus situation was a lot more interesting than whatever Eight-Legged Freaks is doing, and I hadn't seen this since it first came out in like VHS and DVD way back in the day because the video store I worked at had it. If you didn't know, the stars David Arquette, Kari Wurr, Dougie Doug, Scarlett Johansson, Rick Overton, and a brief performance by, what's his name? Tom Noonan. Yeah, he's in the beginning of the film. Yeah, don't recommend Eight-Legged Freaks from 2022. Excuse me, 2002. Directed by Ellery Ellikim. Yeah, kind of a bummer for an ending for the Halloween horror marathon, but whatever. I think they suspect that some people are going to want to walk out anyway. So with the path of the movies being shown being like moving through the 50s and, you know, the 80s and then into the early 2000s, it was a natural progression to show that movie. But I think of other movies that I would have liked to have seen that could have been cool, like Arachnophobia would have been awesome. But then again, if they can't get the print, they can't show it. So it's kind of like, you know, kind of at the mercy of whatever you have available to you through resources if you're showing movies all on film like they did for the festival. Now, for closing out the month of October and actually beginning November, I watched 3 movies in a row that were all rewatches. The first was Halloween H2O, 20 years later, from 1998, directed by Steve Miner. This summer, terror won't be taking a vacation. 2 decades after surviving a massacre on October 31st, 1978, former babysitter Laurie Strode finds herself hunted by persistent knife wielder Michael Myers. Laurie now lives in Northern California under an assumed name, where she works as the headmistress of a private school. But it's not far enough to escape Myers, who soon discovers her whereabouts. As Halloween descends upon Laurie's peaceful community, a feeling of dread weighs upon her with good reason. And that tagline, "This summer, terror won't be taking a vacation," it's because the movie came out in the summertime. This was like the movie I wanted to see the most, I think, in the year of 1998 for 2 reasons. Number one, I was 13. Horror films advertised in 17 and all that stuff. Hell yeah. And then, oh my gosh, Josh Hartnett is in the film as Laurie Strode's son. Jamie Lee Curtis is okay in this. I feel really bad for this version of Laurie because she's clearly like on edge the entire time. She struggles with substance abuse, and she's like, man, she's a mess. And she's just trying to keep it together, and then shit goes down, and everybody is at risk. Also in the film is Adam Arkin, Michelle Williams, yes, the Michelle Williams from Dawson's Creek, and Adam Hint-Bird, who you might recognize from the movie Jumanji. Briefly in the beginning of the film, we also have Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and there's a fun cameo. Now, this is probably one of the better parts of the movie, from Janet Leigh, who is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, the original Scream Queen, you know? LL Cool J is also in the film as well. I don't think this is a good movie. I had not seen this since it came out on back when I worked at the video store, my boss gave me the screener to this. He's like, I bet you want to watch this one. I was like, heck yeah. And he gave it to me early, so I got to watch it. At the time, he also gave me a screener for X-Files Fight the Future, which I had already seen because I saw it in the theater. Because it was PG-13. I was allowed to go. But, yeah, I hadn't seen this since, 1998. It hasn't really aged well at all. Though I think this movie being so short works in its favor. It's only 86 minutes long. It feels very, very short. But the kills are all okay. I don't think this version of Michael Myers is that great, though he's been worse in other movies. Is it worth watching? No, not really. Only if you're a completist for all the Halloween films, or if you're a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis or Michelle Williams or LL Cool J, you know. There's really nothing this movie has to offer that you haven't seen before. Though one thing that, if you're nostalgic for late 90s, early 2000s cinema, sometimes we all can be, this will take you back to that time for sure. You could do a double feature of this and something like Jawbreaker or She's All That. It would all work together. Maybe even a triple feature. There you go. But Halloween H2O, 20 years later, from 1998, directed by Steve Miner, gave this one 2 stars. Not really great, but it's definitely not really terrible as some Halloween movies can be. But to follow it up on Halloween night, because what I did was on Halloween night, we had trick-or-treaters, and I had wanted to go to the local Halloween parade, which I was so excited to go, but it ended up being frigid, so freaking cold and windy. Now, I can deal with cold, but I can't deal with cold and wind, and standing outside for 2 hours waiting for a parade, I was sadly I was not able to do that. No, physically I was not going to be able to. So trick-or-treaters came by until probably an hour and a half into the 2-hour trick-or-treat window. Then I went downtown to a food truck park that we have, and I got myself I got a burrito and then what was it, carnitas fries or something, and I hunkered down. I was all cozy, and I'm like, what am I gonna watch? I'm gonna watch Halloween movies. So yeah, I watched Halloween H2O, and then I watched Halloween 3 Season of the Witch from 1982, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. The tagline is, "The night no one comes home." After a terrified toy salesman is mysteriously attacked and brought to the hospital, clutching the year's most popular Halloween mask, Dr. Daniel Chalice sets out to investigate the strange events and finds himself thrust into a nightmarish conspiracy. Tom Atkins plays Dr. Dan Chalice. What a lady killer. This is fun. I know this isn't a great movie in a lot of ways, but I find it entertaining, and it's obviously not got Michael Myers in it, but does it need it? No! It's fun. It's a good time. I like the music. I like the settings. Just enough of a creep factor to make it a successful film, in my opinion. And actually, the first time I watched this movie was at the Coolidge Corner Theater Halloween Marathon, so pretty cool to have that experience for the first time. And I remember not really liking it as much, but I kind of felt some affection for it, even though it wasn't something I was a huge fan of. And I went ahead and got the Blu-ray for it. And yeah, it's a kind of movie I think I would want to actually watch every Halloween. It just has a really good vibe. And I know it doesn't work for everybody, but for me, it does. So I gave Halloween 3 Season of the Witch 3 stars. It's a good time. From 1982, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. And Tommy Lee Wallace went on to direct movies such as Fright Night Part 2, the It TV movie from 1990, and I have not seen either one of those, so I might need to soon. Yeah. Okay, so the day after Halloween, I was just chilling. I didn't really have anything to do. I ended up watching Smile 2 from 2024, directed by Parker Finn. The tagline is It's the Last Thing You'll See. About to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Sky Riley begins experiencing increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and the pressures of fame, Sky is forced to face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spirals out of control. I love this movie. I know, I'm probably the only person I know who would give this one a flat out, 4 stars every day of the week. And that's not just a 4 stars, I think it's good. That's a 4 stars, I love it. One of my favorite movies of the year, kind of 4 stars. I think Naomi Scott is just so beyond, such a terrific performance, so underrated. I think the movie is genuinely very creepy. I like the way it's done, everything about it, the way it's shot, the staging, every bit of the production, the editing. There's maybe only just a slight weakness a little bit in the last, I don't know, I wouldn't say last half hour, but just before the half hour begins, there's a sort of discussion about the smile thing and how it happens. But otherwise, I've had a really good time both times I've watched this movie. And I picked up a copy of it, a physical copy, when I was on the road coming home from Camp John Waters. I stopped in at a Barnes & Noble just because I needed to have a break from driving. And they had this on clearance for the Blu-ray copy. And I was like, heck yes. I had not got myself a copy before, and it was a good deal. So Smile 2. Yeah, it's one of my favorite films from the last 5 years or so, for sure. Gave it 4 stars from 2024, directed by Parker Finn. I like it a lot better than Smile 2. And allegedly, Smile 3 is on the horizon. I'll be there. I hope it's good. It could be bad, though. Who knows? Now, switching gears, very much so. I began November with Smile 2, and I didn't rewatch another movie again until the beginning of December. Oh my gosh, I've already talked about it enough, but I went back to the Coolidge Corner Theater on December the 3rd to watch Blue Moon from 2025, directed by Richard Linklater. The tagline is Forgotten but Not Gone. In the evening of March 31st, 1943, legendary lyricist Lorenz Hart confronts his shattered self-confidence in Sardi's bar as his former collaborator Richard Rodgers celebrates the opening night of his groundbreaking hit musical, Oklahoma. Now, this showing was a rewatch because I had seen the movie a month before, but Ethan Hawke was coming to town. He was going to be talking about the film afterwards, and I wanted to be there. And at first I was like, oh, I can't go. It's a weekday, and I have to work. And then my mother, as it happens, was like, oh, what's that movie with Ethan Hawke that's coming out? It's called Blue Moon. I'm like, you wanted to see Blue Moon? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, it's not in theaters anymore, but I think Ethan Hawke's coming to the Coolidge with it. She's like, really? Are there tickets available? And sure enough, there were still tickets available. So we got to go in the big theater and see Ethan Hawke in person. And of course, she was psyched. My mom is like, next time there's an actor with a movie, we can make it work. We should go. So my mom and I will be going to more of those, as long as it's a movie she would be into watching. But she loved this movie. I just want to say, my mom is telling everybody, you got to watch Blue Moon, because she says Ethan Hawke is transcendent as Lorenz Hart. She just really was having a moment when he came on stage after the movie. She was like, I know it's the guy who played the character, but I don't see any bit of him on stage right now. And she was like, I hear the voice, but it's not him. It's different. She was having one of those moments, and I'm so glad she did, because my mom doesn't go to the movies a lot, and it's a lot of there's not a lot of movies that appeal to her in theaters, and so she's asking for recommendations here and there. But I'm glad she got to see this in a theater with a crowd who's definitely very appreciative of the kinds of things this movie is talking about, which is Lorenz Hart being a big curmudgeon, but also putting on a brave face to sort of face the fact that this guy he used to work with, Richard Rodgers, is going to feel all this success, and it is not coming Lorenz's way anymore because they are not working anymore, because Rodgers is working with Hammerstein. I just think this is a really fun movie. It's not one of my favorites of the year, top 5 maybe, but I just think Ethan Hawke's performance overall is just, it's really just terrific. Like, you want to watch actors in movies and see them show you new things, and I think this is Ethan Hawke really doing more than he's done before, and it's exciting. It's really, really great. Another thing, this is directed by Richard Linklater. He was my most watched director in the year of 2025, mostly because I saw this movie twice. And I also watched the movie Me and Orson Welles and his newer movie Nouveau Vague, and I didn't care for either one of those. And I will say, watching Me and Orson Welles, some months before Blue Moon came out, I was really worried because they kind of take place in the same time frame of the 1940s-ish. And thankfully, this is such a better movie in so many ways. Not just the performances, but the way it's staged and how it moves. It's a movie that's very much a talking picture. Lots of people talking. It's all about conversation. But it's also this dance of sorts that Lorenz Hart does all around the bar with all the people he knows and encounters, and how he sort of just gets through that evening, because it's so difficult for him, but he is at the same time just trying to live it up. But yeah, Ethan Hawke just really, really terrific in this film. So Blue Moon from 2025, directed by Richard Linklater. Both times I saw it, gave it 3.5 stars. I can see this being a movie I would watch again, like sometime soon. Yeah, it's just like has a certain delightful thing about it that you're kind of just like, this is so comforting. This is so nice. So good to see. Now, in mid-December, one battle after another came back to theaters, and I had been thinking to myself, gee, I wish I had seen this in the theater a second time. The first time I saw it was like the opening night of the film in October, and yeah, mid-December, one battle after another from 2025, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, came back to cinemas. Some search for battle, others are born into it. When their evil nemesis resurfaces after 16 years, a band of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. Just great performances all around from the cast. Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Chase Infinity, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, who just won a Golden Globe. Congratulations. It's a collective, major win, I think, for Paul Thomas Anderson. It's not my favorite movie of his. That's, of course, Boogie Nights. Every single day of the week. But just the way this movie is like an ensemble, there's so many pieces to the puzzle, the people working together, the little things you'll notice about how the dialogue is. One of my favorite things I noticed the second time I saw this movie is that I believe it was Perfidia Beverly Hills' mother who says to Bob, when he's not Bob, when he's Rocket Man, my daughter, I'm pretty sure it was her mother, my daughter is a runner, you're a stump. You do not belong with her. She says something to that effect. But the thing about him being a stump and the daughter being a runner, and then later in the picture, what does Leo do? He runs out of a tree stump. Just little things like that, like just the touches of creativity that a motion picture should have and does, like full stop, like every angle. Like there's new things you'll see in this movie every time you watch it. And I think that speaks very highly of Paul Thomas Anderson, his craft, and the fact that he got to make this movie and make it be his own. And I know there's been a lot of criticism on the internet for it, and I think people need to remember that ultimately, if you are entertained by a motion picture, that motion picture is not guaranteed to be liked by everybody else. So your opinion and how you enjoy it is probably the most important, because that gives you a personal experience and how you feel about it. Because there's plenty of movies I watch every day that I really, really like, and then nobody else watches it or even knows about it or cares or wants to see it. So yeah, it's movies getting awards and stuff is, it's just the industry patting each other on the back and saying, good job. You did this, we like what you did, so we're going to give you this thing. It does not negate necessarily other motion pictures, but, the awareness thing is a big part of the puzzle. And I am someone who grew up thinking Boogie Nights was like kind of a failure in some ways, because it never won a single Oscar, but it was nominated for like how many? Like 3? I want to say screenplay, supporting actor, supporting actress. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, because of its subject matter, I'd encounter people who'd be like, "Oh, I'm never watching that movie. How terrible." But I've always just been like, award shows are fun because they're a thing to watch, but they're not the end all be all. Is this gonna win Best Picture? Yeah, probably. I think it will. Is it my favorite movie of the year? No. I don't think so. I think there's something else that I like a bit more from movies that are from 2025 and even movies I watched all year, you know. But I think One Battle After Another, it does speak to the times when it comes to the situation of how certain people move and how certain people don't. Who is the stump? Who is the runner? Who's running because they have to? Who's running because they want to? You know, a lot of things. And I could go into a whole rant, but I won't do that right now because we're talking about movies and I need to talk about the next movie. But yeah, One Battle After Another from 2025, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. I gave this one 4 stars. It's a fun film. And I won't be surprised if it is back at your local Cineplex in the coming weeks because we're in January. January is not the best time to go see a new picture. There might be something out there that appeals to you when you go and you have a so-so time, maybe an okay time, but not always a guarantee. But plenty of awardsy films come back to theaters, so check your local theater listings. If you miss something, it might be coming your way. Like, not just about movies that are nominated for Oscars and like Best Picture, but other categories. It just happens. It's up to the distributors, like what they want to do. But they generally do that. So keep your eyes peeled. Oscar nominations come out on, I believe, Thursday the 22nd. I believe. So, yeah, we'll see. But up next, we have Grandma from 2015, directed by Paul Weitz. There is no tagline for this film. Self-described misanthrope Elle Reed has her protective bubble burst when her 18-year-old granddaughter, Sage, shows up needing help. The two of them go on a day-long journey that causes Elle to come to terms with her past and Sage to confront her future. Lily Tomlin plays Elle Reed. She is so good in this movie. I liked this movie a lot the first time I saw it, and I watched it again because my parents and I were hanging out, and my mom was like, What's that movie with Lily Tomlin? I don't know what it's called." I'm like, "Is it Grandma?" She said, "Is it Grandma?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's Grandma." Everybody in this movie is really great. Julia Garner playing Sage, the young teen granddaughter, Marcia Gay Harden as the actual daughter of Elle, named Judy, and then Judy Greer has a brief part in the film as Elle's former lover, and all the people she runs into along the way. But I do want to mention there's a brief part by Sam Elliott in this film. He's a very complicated man. He has a past relationship with Elle that he's not so happy with. The way that Sam Elliott and Lily Tomlin act together, just a really underrated screen coupling that you would never really guess they would play well off of each other. But this movie brings them together, and I think all the performances are solid. I think the scripting is good. This is one of those independent films that you know is very, very small. In fact, it is so small, the car that Lily Tomlin drives is her own car, and I know this. But thankfully, it's got a solid enough script that it doesn't feel like something that just kind of came together over a couple weeks or whatever. It feels like there's a lot of intent in this story. And I think Grandma from 2015, directed by Paul Weitz, is worth your time. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I watched it on Tubi with the folks, because Tubi's free. Tubi's got a lot of great films that you can watch at any time, though it's also available on Roku, or you could just rent it if you don't want to watch ads for like $3-4. You know, it's out there. All right, we're rounding the corner of the final films I rewatched. Now, one of these was kind of an unfortunate rewatch because I had only just seen it like a week before, but How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 2000, directed by Ron Howard. Yeah, unfortunately, I watched it twice in the month of December. The tagline is, "You better watch out. The Grinch decides to rob Whoville of Christmas, but a dash of kindness from little Cindy Lou Who and her family may be enough to melt his heart." I don't think this is a good movie at all. I think the performances by Jim Carrey and Taylor Momsen are actually okay, but man, this movie is just disgusting looking. And it has no taste. So there. I can't believe this movie has nearly 2 million logs on Letterboxd, but I hover over that 2 million and they're rounding up because it's 1,963,871 members. But that's gotta be because it just kind of hits that sweet spot of like Letterboxd users who were of a certain age when this came out and are maybe watching it every single Christmas. Why would you do that, folks? I watched this on Christmas, regretfully. But then I followed it up with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from 1989, directed by Jeremiah S. Chekik. The tagline is, "You'll crack up." It's Christmas time, and the Griswolds are preparing for family seasonal celebration. But things never run smoothly for Clark, his wife Ellen, and their 2 kids. Clark's continually bad luck is worsened by his obnoxious family guests, but he manages to keep going, knowing that his Christmas bonus is due soon. Yes, this is maybe some ways kind of a trashy movie. I don't know. I think it's funny though. I enjoy watching this one. This was the second movie watched at Christmas after The Grinch, so I was a little like, finally something that's not, I don't know, not so offensive to the eyes. I gave it 3 stars. I know some people really hate this movie. I think it's entertaining. I think it is what it is. I would never defend it though. And in fact, I haven't seen all of the National Lampoon movies, and I know I have European Vacation on DVD. Maybe that should be one of the next couple movies I watch. And I haven't seen a lot of Chevy Chase movies because I don't really like that guy. Yeah, and I haven't seen Vegas Vacation, but nobody ever talks positively about Vegas Vacation. Probably a reason for that one. But yeah, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Gave it 3 stars. I think I've watched it now 2 Christmases in a row. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe I saw it for the first time last year. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, it's on TV a lot. I've at least seen many parts of it many, many times. But the final film that I rewatched in the year of 2025, you'll never guess. Oh no. It's Cinemania from 2002, directed by Stephen Kijak and Angela Christleby. Okay. The tagline is Real Obsession. This documentary about the culture of intense cinephilia in New York City reveals the impassioned world of 5 obsessed movie buffs. These human encyclopedias of cinema see 2 to 5 films a day, from 600 to 2,000 films a year. This is the story of their lives, their memories, their unbending habits, and the films they love. I don't relate to this film, thankfully. These people are obsessive. Like, they will not go to a certain theater no matter what. They will not watch certain movies not on film. They have their habits, their methods, how they enjoy films. Look, I'm usually just the person who's like, well, I want to go see this movie, but I know it's not showing in a bigger theater, so I either will compromise or just be like aware of the fact that look, it's showing on screen 5 and it's also showing on screen 12. Screen 12 smaller, I'll go to the showing with screen 5 if it's in multiples. I'm like that. But these people are like, well, I won't go to this theater unless I can sit in that seat. And if I get there and I can't get that seat, I'm not going. I won't go to this theater if I'm not there 10 minutes beforehand so I can go to the bathroom beforehand. If it's 6 minutes or 5, I can't do it. I can't physically do it because then they're like, they don't get their seat. Or it's going to be too hot in that theater. I can't go if I'm after work. Well, there's all these things about it. And then the way they feel about certain performers and their habits and the way that they see movies and view movies, and oh gosh. It's a very entertaining documentary though. Peer into the sort of way that people can be about movies. And I haven't met a lot of people like that in my life. Thank goodness. But if I did know someone like that, I think I would still be friends with them, even so, because, if we like movies and we get along, that's a good thing. I absolutely do not have a lot of friends who are people I go to the movies though with. It's usually just my sister, because I frankly a lot of the time love going to the movies by myself. Like, after a day of work, there's nothing better to me than just being like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the movies, like a last minute decision. So I don't plan ahead a lot of the time unless it's like something I know I want to get a ticket for some reason, or if it's like opening night. Yeah, but these people live in New York, so they're able to see like movies time and time again that are the same presentations, like on film, like classic film, and I don't get the chance to see a lot of classic film on film. So I'm jealous of these people, because New York has so many theaters, but I have to assume a lot of the theaters these people go to are just not like around anymore. And then things like, I know the Paris theater got bought by Netflix, so like they don't show a lot of movies that aren't Netflix movies. So yeah, I don't want to assume thing about the New York scenes, but these people they're their own special ball of wax. But Cinemania, it is not available to rent as a digital rental, but if you search on, oh, it is actually a digital rental, but if you search on YouTube, I found it there. I was just kind of going through stuff on YouTube and I was like, oh, I have seen this before. I had rented this on DVD from Netflix like more than 20 years ago. And I was kind of like, whoa, that's a different way to like watch movies. But now that I'm older, I can very much relate to these people, even though I am so far from their habits and behaviors. It's an interesting film. Cinemania from 2002, directed by Stephen Kijak and Angela Christlieb. I gave this one 3 stars. Again, I had not seen this movie in over 20 years. I got the documentary from Netflix DVD. I remember it being like one of those movies that you're just kind of like, this is such a it doesn't have like a production or creation of it that makes it look like a legit movie. It just is kind of like, oh, it's got the name on it and it could be a sticker. Yeah. No, it's an actual movie. And I watched it again, and that was the last rewatch of the year 2025. Just for the sake of stats that I had mentioned, like Griffin Dunn being my number one watched actor, and then Richard Linklater. I, in the year, let's see, 2025, I watched 246 films total as far as entries. Movies I watched for the first time, I think I got to 100 and, what did I get to, 180 something? Oh gosh, I didn't prepare to do this, but 186 films total that were older than 2025, and then 60 logged. Wow. Okay. That includes all the rewatches. But yeah, directors, Linklater, 5 films. So I watched, oh, that's right. The before movies, 2 of them played back to back at my local Regal, so I went and saw both of those. But yeah, me and Orson Welles, Blue Moon twice, and Nouvelle Vague. And then who's up behind Richard Linklater? Oh, it's James Cameron. Yeah, Terminator, watched the beginning of 2025, then Avatar: Way of Water, and Aliens, as I mentioned on this episode, and Avatar: Fire and Ash. I don't rewatch a lot of movies by the same filmmakers. That's the interesting thing. And I think I'm gonna like start to change my habits a little bit, like be more like revisiting of certain filmmakers that I like and really going through their filmography. Yeah, because I don't really do that. But even like someone like Luca Guadagnino, I have him in here as like in my top 5 for directors. And 2 of the movies I watched were for the first time: Salvatore, Shoemaker of Dreams, and then After the Hunt. But then I watched Challengers twice, of course. Yeah, he still has some movies I haven't seen. Not that many, though. And I did complete the Noah Baumbach filmography with watching Highball. So 100% on Noah Baumbach. Yeah, making the grade. Yeah, my goals for this year, as I've just now concluded, watching more complete filmographies of some directors and maybe rewatching some films. I do want to go through my movies I have, copies of on physical media, and watching those movies, like really getting down to the collection, like what have I not watched, and movies I most watched. This is funny. I didn't watch a single movie 3 times all year. No, only twice. So Grinch, as I just mentioned, One Battle After Another, Blue Moon, just mentioned, Phoenician Scheme, The Shrouds, Sinners, Challengers, like I just mentioned, and Nosferatu. And technically, at this point, have I watched... No, I did not see Nosferatu in 2024, so only at the beginning of the year. But my first film in 2025 was Last Voyage of the Demeter, and my first was Last Voyage of the Demeter, and the final film I watched was The Glass Shield, which I talked about on the last episode. Yeah. Yeah, I averaged 20.5 films a month, 4.7 a week, and the number one day of the week, this is funny, Fridays. I watch 52 films on Fridays, so basically 1 movie a week every single Friday. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Good year for movies, good year for rewatches, but I think like I gotta change things up to have more I don't know, more things, more here okay. It's 183 films that I watched for the first time, which is down from 2024. This is what I wanted to say. 2024, I watched 231 for the first time. So like yeah, I gotta work. Do I gotta work to watch more movies? Probably. Will I be able to? I don't know. Life will throw some things at me here and there, but um yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna stop rambling right now. I can end this episode. But I'm Mallory. Cinema 5000 is my podcast. Go to cinema5000.com. That's where I have links. And if you check out the blog, whenever I upload episodes to YouTube, I put them on there. And another thing, I need to start using my blog more for more writings because I have not been doing that in a long while. But follow along on Bluesky, Cinema 5000. YouTube, the page is Cinema 5000 Podcast. And if you want to send an email, send it to cinema5000pod@gmail.com. I also can receive messages through the Cinema 5000 website if you want to send something there, any notes. Usually I just get spam. It'd be cool to get something that's like an actual message from somebody who isn't trying to sell me something or trying to tell me that I need to interview someone on my podcast. Folks, that is not going to happen this year or any year. This podcast is just me talking about movies myself. I'm sorry. I'm not an interviewer. I don't necessarily want this podcast to be something where I'm promoting something that I don't believe in either. So, sorry if you have been sending me emails and stuff and you're feeling like I'm not responding. If you are actually listening to this episode, you can stop sending me those emails now. Okay, great. Because I don't think they're legit and I'm just not going to do that anyway. But yeah, thank you again for listening to this episode. Here's to a great year of 2026 and lots of movies. Okay, bye.